laboratories are accredited specifically in digital and multimedia evidence. The intelligence community, as the news will be happy to talk about, is very heavily involved in digital forensics and examination of digital evidence. But one of the areas that a lot of people don't realize is that in the information security arena, there's a tremendous need for the ability to look at computers and network traffic, etc., in order to determine the who, what, when, where, how, and why. And so information security practitioners, even though they may not be full-time digital forensic practitioners, they use all those same knowledge skills, etc., and very often go through the same training programs that the traditional forensic examiners do. And the last area is, I don't know if it's unique to the United States, but it certainly has become a very big deal in the United States. A couple of years ago, our Federal Rules of Civil Procedure changed, and now lawyers have to discuss with the judge at the very first conference how they're going to deal with electronic evidence. And so there's developed an entire subspecialty of people that do nothing but try to negotiate and manage the discovery of evidence for trials, and that's the electronic discovery or e-discovery field. So it's another environment we work in. And so just starting at the top, the computer forensics part, that's where we are going out and finding computers, devices, and nowadays very often the data itself. We preserve that data, and digital evidence is very easy to alter and change and have altered, and so it's very important for us to utilize tools and techniques which will allow us to ensure that that evidence is not altered in any way, and that when we take it to court years later we can prove that nothing's changed. We then have to extract from all those ones and zeros the information that's needed for the particular case. And that can very often be a very complex and very involved process that requires, in many cases, multiple levels of analysis and tools and techniques. And then last but not least is analyzing the information that we extract and trying to figure out how it fits into the case narrative. In the computer forensics, we focus on the devices, everything from phones and computers and hard drives and USBs. We tend to have to focus from a technical perspective on the operating systems, which are really the software that connects the hardware to our data, and then the data storage devices themselves and networks, and knowing how those things work. So you have to have a pretty thorough knowledge of those particular areas, those three areas. And as a result, it requires, if not a CS or a computer science or information technology degree, it requires a very, very strong background in how computers operate and how information technology functions. And it has a very strong investigative component, because unlike most of the other forensic disciplines, where the investigator knows exactly the question that they want to ask the examiner in, say, a firearms and tool marks case, where they want to find out, did this bullet come from that gun? Was this casing fired in this particular gun? Very straightforward questions. More often than not, the case of the digital forensics person, particularly in the computer forensics arena, is find me all the evidence about what this person did. And so you really need to understand the case narrative, the law, and some of the other evidence. And so you really need to have a pretty good feel for investigations. And one of the things that makes it most interesting to me is that we answer both very broad questions, was this computer there, could this have happened, to very narrow questions is, did this person do this particular thing on this date and time? So it's a very interesting field to work in. Catalin, I'm going to turn this one over to you.
Thank you very much, Mark. In forensic audio, video, and image analysis, we deal with authentication of audio, video, and images, meaning to scientifically decide, based on solid scientific analysis, if an audio or a video or a JPEG, if we speak about images, has traces of image manipulation. or audio manipulation, like copy-paste from different recordings, deletions, inserts. We also deal with enhancement of audio, video, and images, meaning to separate the sounds, to attenuate the noise, to make a recording dialogue to be heard much better, or to clarify an image like you see sometimes in CSI, and to see the license plate. We deal with speaker recognition also. There are many recordings, even on internet, people can download them, and of course, many people are curious who is the real speaker. Are there any traces of disguise, for instance, or is the real speaker the one that claims to be? We also deal with image comparisons, like face comparison or object comparison. And finally, we deal with photogrammetry. It is extremely important sometimes to measure somebody's height. Like, for instance, if you have a video recording from a store with a perpetrator wearing a mask, so the face is not visible, but we can go and, by applying photogrammetry, measure the height of the perpetrator. If we speak about cars or any other kind of vehicles, we can measure the distance, the velocity, and in many real cases, in fact, we combine authentication with enhancement, for instance, or audio enhancement with speaker recognition, or video enhancement with image comparisons and photogrammetry. And this is briefly what can be done in forensic audio, video, and image analysis. If we have a look now on what does it mean a typical day for someone working in this field. For a practitioner, for instance, they have to work on forensic cases, like receiving the cases, performing a preliminary analysis of the evidence, seeing if they are good enough. They have to check for the latest scientific papers, because a forensic practitioner needs to know the latest development in the field and which are the best practices he has to respect. For a scientific researcher, it is mandatory to read the latest scientific papers, so to keep up to date his knowledge about the latest developments in the field, to do research and work on new articles, submit them to peer reviewers, and be prepared to publish them, and also work on real forensic cases. This is what can be done during one day by a scientific researcher. While for academia, people that are teaching in a university environment, they are doing the same like a scientist, plus prepare lectures and hands-on. It is extremely important, the hands-on examples, to be realistic or to come from real cases, and to meet the students and coordinate their research and the thesis activities, peer review proposed articles by some other scientists, prepare presentations for forensic conferences, and keep in touch with the scientific community. And this is briefly what can be done by an academia during one day. And what attributes make someone to succeed the career in this discipline? Probably the most important attributes are education. If we speak about forensic media, we'll come back on this probably, and you will see that it is mandatory to have a university degree in a specific field. Training means to attend different workshops managed by companies or universities, and to see what are, from a practical point of view, the latest software or hardware in a specific forensic science. Skills that have to be developed in time, and experience, of course, for both forensic lab analysis and testimony into the courtroom. And why not? Curiosity and love of problem solving. Yes, and we like to say that there are no problems, but only solutions.
Now, I'm I'm going to jump in at that point and make a comment about this. Um, I certainly agree that there's no that we need to think in terms of solutions. And I tell students that the interesting part of this job is that every day is something different, everything is something new, every case is different. And so if you want routine, this is the wrong job. If you want to be learning constantly and pushing your mind, this is a great job.
I fully agree. Thank you very much. Yes, every case is a new challenge. That's great. It's true. Yes.
You want to finish this one?
Yes, absolutely. About now, how does someone prepare for a career in the field? We need, or that the people need education, like for instance, computer science, electrical or electronic engineering, audio engineering, other related fields like linguists, phoneticians, and the training here can be provided by different companies or producers that offer the training on their systems. And another way can be to attend university workshops, which are usually system independent trainings, meaning that during this kind of workshops, the university and the faculty don't promote a specific software, but they speak free about different solutions and methods, and they sometimes run comparisons between systems. Mark, thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm going to talk a little bit about degree programs, and one thing that's a little different about this field is that while there are some specific academic programs designed to give people the education and skills that they need to enter the field, the demand is such that there are lots and lots of people that come from a wide variety of backgrounds that want to get into this field and that have useful backgrounds to this field. So don't think of these degrees necessarily as a linear relationship. We have people coming in kind of at all levels, but I'll go through them rather briefly. There are now a number of associate programs offered primarily through community colleges and four-year institutions that give two-year degrees that focus on digital forensics. And there's a new program out there that was started by the Department of Defense called the Center of Digital Forensic Academic Excellence, CDFA for short, and they are starting to encourage and accredit associate programs in digital forensics. So when you're shopping for one, you might want to look for one that's got their accreditation. Now, keep in mind that while a lot of people start their academic careers with an associate program, the associate programs are actually a great way for people that have non-technical backgrounds. They're, say, traditional investigators, they have a criminal justice undergraduate degree, they want to get into the technology, but they don't have the hands-on skills. Associates programs are really good at providing foundational technical education, and if you can do it with a concentration in digital forensics, so much the better. The traditional BA and BS four-year programs are out there. They exist in a variety of situations, from being concentrations within IT degrees, in some cases criminal justice degrees. They can be an entire major, sometimes in an engineering technology or computer science or an IT program. So you're likely to find them in a lot of different flavors. There are two ways that programs can get accredited at the bachelor's level. One is the CDFA process that I talked about for the associate's program, and that's through DoD. And the American Academy's Forensic Education Program Accreditation Commission, or FEPAC, does offer an accreditation for BA, BS programs that meet all of the FEPAC accreditation standards for traditional forensic sciences, but they also have a concentration in digital forensics. That's a relatively new program. Getting into graduate programs, you really have kind of three different flavors of graduate programs. You have folks that are continuing on in a traditional graduate program. In other words, their undergraduate major is consistent with the digital forensics or at least the computer science, electrical engineering, that sort of thing. And some of those people will go in and essentially get their forensic education as part of their master's program. And you'll find there are Masters of Science in Forensic Science and Masters of Science in Digital Forensics that will do that. There are also concentrations in more traditional Masters of Forensic Science programs that offer digital forensics as a concentration. And in some programs, you can concentrate on digital forensics in a standard Masters of Science program. The MSFS and MFS programs can also be accredited under FEPAC, and there's at least one university that's already done that for digital forensics. I put down PhDs just because while a bunch of us have them, generally PhDs are not accredited, but if you're going to do a PhD in digital forensics, you really have to make really sure that you have a program that's willing to let you do the wide variety of things that are required, and so you need to seek out somebody that's gone down this path before, because it can be a little tricky if you pick the wrong PhD program and you want to focus on computer forensics. My advice when you're looking for a program is look for a program that gives you the actual skills and gets you some experience. Students absolutely have to have that experience, whether it's through internships, summer jobs, or extracurricular programs. In the end, in this particular field, if you can't demonstrate that you've done it, it's going to be very difficult to get a job. And the one thing that we tell all students in forensic science is that a clean background, meaning that you don't have any arrests, you have good credit, you don't drink too much, you don't take drugs, and that sort of thing, is essential, because virtually all of these jobs require an extensive background, and many of them require a polygraph. And if you don't want to go through an entire program only to find out that you cannot find work. I had a student approach me that was a convicted sex offender, and I told him, I said, I don't care how much you want this job, you're never going to get a job in this field. Mark, you want
to? Okay, so I guess, yes, please, Mark.
Mark Rodgers, go ahead.
This is yours, Kelly. Do you want to do this one?
Okay, fast, absolutely. About how to find the job opportunities. It is probably a good solution to look on internet for different job announcements, follow professional websites, to attend conferences, because many companies just advertise their open positions during these kind of conferences, during or after internships with different big organizations, by entering an academia career and following it, or just be an independent forensic practitioner and run your own business with, of course, the previous conditions presented by Mark in the previous slide. Gentlemen?
Mark?
Yeah, thanks, Kelly and Mark. Networking with other people in the field, extremely important, as both Catalin and Mark have indicated. You can't do any of this in a vacuum. You need to keep up to date with the newest trends, the latest things that are happening. You're invariably going to come across something that you maybe not have seen before, and so having a network of other professionals, other scientists, other practitioners that you can reach out to for advice, have you seen this, what about that, is extremely important. There's no one person that's going to know everything about everything in this field. It's just too broad, and it just moves way too fast. So it's extremely important to maintain this professional network, as well as for opportunities to see what type of training programs are good, what training programs are available, and if you're a recent graduate, looking for a job in the field, networking is key. Some of the things you can do for networking are as simple as attending the AAFS yearly meeting. This is where you get to meet with the folks in your sections, across sections, lots of opportunities to network after the main part of the day is done. My students have been very successful in securing internships and after graduation jobs simply from attending the AAFS conference. You have other academic and professional conferences, as both Catalin and Mark have said. You've got different, more of the, I guess, the computer science, electrical engineering, audio engineering. You've got these societies such as IEEE, ACM. They have special interest groups and student groups in this area. Quite often they'll have individual conferences, so attending conferences in general. Online, local professional organizations, online, there's different listservs you can be part of. You can be part of listservs that are particular to a professional organization, or in some cases they can be particular to a particular industry, application, or tool. There are several of the big ones out there have their own listservs. And again, this is a perfect opportunity to be able to share information, ask questions. If you're stumped, you run across something, these are vital. So there's no real magic to this other than you have to put yourself out there and you have to be actively involved.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about certifications. In addition to education, virtually everybody that is an active practitioner in this field has one, or in most cases, multiple certifications. And in fact, there's a bunch of different kinds of certifications. There are what we call professional certifications, and perhaps two of the best known are the Digital Forensic Certification Board certifications and the ISC squared CCFP accreditation or certification now. And these demonstrate that you have overall professional competence. You also have a designated amount of training, some experience, and you've been tested. Organizational certifications give you the authority to work within a given organization or within a particular professional association. As an FBI examiner, the FBI designated me as an examiner, gave me a nice little certificate that says that I'm allowed to do digital forensic examinations. And vendor certifications, as Kevin was talking about, there's a lot of tools in this business, and each of the vendors have their own set of tools, and most of them have a certification program that requires you to use their tool, pass an exam that's both written and practical using their product. Mark?
Yeah. Again, how do you achieve membership in some of these professional organizations? Well, if you're a student, then almost every one of these organizations has a special status for students. Usually the organizations similar to what the AAFS have, you start off as you can be a student membership or student associate, then you get an associate member, then you come in at different levels. But for the student membership, our section, the Digital Multimedia Sciences, it's the same as any of the other section. You must be enrolled in a full-time undergraduate, or in this case graduate program that would support a career in this area, and it has to be something that's accepted by the section. Certain sections have certain criteria as to what is going to be accepted as within their section. Digital Multimedia Sciences, it's pretty broad, but it still somehow has to relate to exactly what Mark and Catalin have talked about at the start, those type of activities that we do related to digital evidence, whether it be network, whether it be audio, video, whether it be imaging. It falls within that, and it's a part of a university or a community college or college activity, then that would usually fall within the criteria for getting a student affiliation. Again, the applications must be made. You must certify your eligibility annually. In a lot of cases for students, that require sign-off by their advisor, by a department head, or somebody that can attest to the fact that they are enrolled in a program. Like most organizations, there has to be some type of a gap stop between somebody graduating and somebody getting a full-time status within the field and moving up from a student applicant to an associate. So at the AAFS, for the sections, there is basically 2 consecutive calendar years that there is this grace period in order for you to land a job in that area, in order then to move from being a student to the other type of associate members that they have. And again, once you do, if you do change from a student to working from an organization or being a practitioner, again, there is the process of applying. In a lot of cases, not only do you have to apply, but especially with the AAFS, you also must have somebody that's a member already a member vouch for you, and to make sure that there's somebody that is worthy of being within the section. That is similar for almost any of the other professional organizations that are out there. Mark talked about ISC squared, CSSP. It's very similar. There's a graduated process to move from student to kind of an associate to full members. How do you become an active member? Attend the meetings. That's probably the best way. In fact, that is a requirement to move through the different ranks. Is you need to be active in your section. You need to, once you make the application and it's accepted as either a training affiliate or an associate or a student, then the onus is on you to start becoming an active participant within your section. That means attending the meetings. That means attending the business meetings of your section. That it means helping to volunteer on different section committees. Almost every committee, especially Digital Multimedia Sciences, we have several different committees that are always looking for active members. Submitting a paper or a poster or a talk, that is actually part of the requirement for moving up the ranks to come to the fellow status. You can volunteer to assist with workshops. At most sections tend to want to put a workshop on at least, if not every meeting, at least every other meeting. And you can also volunteer to be a moderator for your section. What kind of continuing education options are available? Pretty much the sky's the limit. There are workshops at the AAFS meetings. There's workshops at the different professional organizations. You can take continuing education credits online, and the NIJ and RTI International offer some of these programs. You can take continuing education through professional associations, as Mark was talking about. You can take graduate certifications or post-grad certifications through universities, quite often through the colleges and some of their associate degree programs. And there's also the industry certification and training. Most of the main vendors of products in this area, especially within the digital multimedia sciences, offer training and continued education, and all this counts towards your keeping yourself, as Catalin mentioned at the start, keeping yourself current and keeping on top of what is actually happening in your field.
Okay, well, the question everybody wants to know is how much do you make? A little disclaimer here, this is my educated guess, and when we talk about these different salaries, we're talking about people that have an academic preparation and have certifications and have an appropriate level of experience. For a lot of the state and local law enforcement practitioners and forensic labs, as a general rule, the entry level is going to be around $40,000 to $50,000. There may be some places where it's slightly lower, some places maybe slightly higher, but that's probably a reasonable ballpark. The journeyman level for state and local isn't quite as high as it is for the federal folks, and that can be from $50,000 to $90,000, perhaps a little bit more if you're in a really high-cost area, or you are with a really wealthy or well-equipped organization. In the federal side, whether you're in law enforcement or in the intelligence community, in almost all cases you're going to have a top secret SCI clearance, which is worth substantial dollars, particularly in the DC area. Entry level is generally $50,000 to $75,000. Occasionally it's a little bit more than that depending on the person's background. And the journeyman level is usually in the $90,000 to $125,000 a year bracket. In the private sector, it's going to vary tremendously depending on your duties and your client. What we refer to as Beltway bandits, the people in the Washington, D.C. area, the contractors, their salaries generally mimic pretty closely what the feds pay, and so you get a little idea of what that's like. by the way, a large majority of the jobs in this field are in Washington, New York, Chicago, LA, Dallas, Miami, the big cities. While there are some of these positions with state, local, and private sector in less populated areas, generally the salaries will reflect that they'll be substantially lower in those environments. Individual practitioners, most of the people that I know charge between $300 and $350 an hour for their examination work, and usually testimony is a little bit more than that. Well, that's the end of our formal presentation. Hopefully you have been sending in some questions, and I think Jeff is supposed to be collecting them, and the three of us will try to answer them. Jeff, you got some questions for us?
Absolutely, I do. So here's our first one. I'm very interested in the field, but I'm a forensic major. I have a little background with computers, but I've only done production things. So how could I better prepare for a field, or for a career in this field?
Well, I have kind of two answers. One is you may want to go back if you have a really weak background and take a few undergraduate courses in hardware, focus on A+, Net+, Security Plus kinds of courses. You can get these very inexpensively at community colleges. The other way, and what maybe a better follow-on for this, is to go back and get a Master's of Science in a program that has a digital forensics concentration, or somewhere that has a graduate certificate in digital forensics. Marcus Catalin, you want to add any to that?
Yeah, Mark, I'm kind of a testament to that. You don't necessarily have to have a formal background in technology or computer science to get into this. Myself, I'm a forensic psychologist, and like Mark said, it's a matter of going back and gearing yourself back up, looking at the different programs, the different courses that can be offered. There's actually quite a few now online classes that can get you back up to speed with the basics of networking, network infrastructure, and just general technology.
Yes, fully agree, gentlemen.
Great. The next question is, what does it take to own your own private forensic business, and what does that mean a little bit?
My experience is that you have to have some solid experience. That's definitely not something you want to do from the get-go. You need to work someplace and see a wide variety of cases and really learn your craft, make your connections, and get your bona fides up so that you have a really good product to sell, meaning your skill set. And then the actual nuts and bolts of it, you need to have enough capital to invest in some pretty high-end hardware and some pretty expensive software, that's not trivial. In my case, when I retired, I probably spent $25,000 or $30,000 just to get myself where I needed to be to do case one. And unfortunately, you have to do that kind of on an ongoing basis. Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, Mark, I totally agree. It's a lot of this success is not through ads, it's not through your flashy web pages. It's word of mouth. It's trust relationships. So you do need to have a solid foundation. You need to have a good background. You need to have those connections. As Mark said, there is a fairly steep ramp-up cost, simply because you need to have the proper equipment to do what you need to do, and to do it in a way that's going to make whatever your evidence you derive admissible in court. And there are certain things, certain industry standard technologies and tools that the courts, whether it be civil or criminal, are going to expect you to be using. And there's always the debate over, well, can they use open source versus, that's not the debate here. The courts are looking for what they're comfortable with. So there is probably a $35,000 to $50,000 hit to start up. And then there is the cost of maintenance. Technology changes on a continual basis. new iterations of software and new types of cell phones and computer systems come out. So there's reoccurring costs. But if you're lucky, if you've got a good reputation, you maintain that reputation. It's a pretty rewarding way to be going.
Okay, Jeff, you got another?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to take a step back and talk. I have a question about how can pharmacology students who have already graduated get into forensic sciences? Is there an overlap in these two fields at all? And I want to say that some of this might actually be better applicable to go back and watch the psychiatry and behavioral science students section. They have some information about that where your pharmacology degree might be applicable. But if you guys have any experience with that.
I certainly don't have a lot of experience with pharmacology, but one of the things that I think Catalin kind of intimated, and Mark Rodgers' background shows this up as mine a little bit. There's a lot of really interesting things in what I call the cracks, the dimension between two disciplines. And while off the top of my head, I'm not quite sure what it would be between pharmacology and digital forensics. I certainly can see how if you wanted to focus on behaviors that were shown by activity on a computer, or perhaps wanted to specialize in doing digital forensic cases, looking at intellectual property issues for drug companies. That could be an interesting little niche. But like most kind of bridge approaches, you need to be a master of both sides. Certainly somebody that's a pharmacology graduate is going to be far more effective at looking at digital evidence involving chemicals and that sort of thing than I am. But in order to get to that point, you have to know the technology. So I'm not sure that's a great answer, but it certainly is an answer.
Great. Well, thank you very much. So I'm going to combine two of these questions here. It says, I'm looking to obtain a job with the FBI as a digital analyst. What are the steps I should take to get to this position? And the other one is, where should I be investing my time and money to get the qualifications for federal law enforcement position in the field?
Well, let me deal with the first question very quickly. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to put it, there is a very rigid application process, and it's all done in USA Jobs, and so that's how you apply for a job. You have to find an announcement and apply for it, and that'll kind of get me into the next part of the answer, which is while technical skills and credentials and certifications are important, one of the things that's really kind of, I won't say unique about this discipline because it really is true of a lot of forensic disciplines, but in this discipline, the ability to communicate well and to talk and to relate to people and try to use your soft skills to leverage your hard skills is the difference between getting a job and not getting a job in many cases. I interviewed lots of people that were really, really bright and had incredible technical backgrounds, but they couldn't talk to a brick. And in the end, I really couldn't use them as examiners because you really need to be able to communicate and have those soft skills and that sort of thing. The last part of your question is, there was a time, and I'm a product of being both a law enforcement officer and being a digital forensic practitioner, and that still occurs in some places, particularly in state and local law enforcement, a little bit in the Fed still. But I tell people, if you're going to pursue a law enforcement job, even if you want that law enforcement job to be in the forensic or the technical or the cyber arena, realize you're raising your hand to become a law enforcement officer first. And you're going to go through the academy, and when you go through the academy and you get out of the academy, you're going to be assigned to whatever it is that they need you to do. And so maybe you wanted to be in cyber, but you might find yourself working auto theft for a couple of years. That's just the nature of the beast. The one advantage of being a non-law enforcement person is that if you go in as a forensic analyst, then that's what you're going to do for a living. So hopefully that helped a little bit, and I'd be happy for my colleagues to comment as well.
Yeah, Mark, and we've had some students that have had the same questions, and for some of them the draw was the law enforcement side, and for others it was more of the forensic sciences, and they weren't too interested in basically doing the regular law enforcement duties before they were given a chance to get into the specialization. And for them, they went into the civilian route, both within the Secret Service and within the FBI. And day one, they were basically doing their trade, and that being the cyber forensics. So you really have to figure out exactly what it is that your interest is in, and then go with it that way. But like Mark said, at the end of the day, to get into the law enforcement, being ex-law-enforcement myself, there's more to it than just having the technical and the computer skills. You still are becoming a law enforcement officer first, and so the considerations, the rigor that has to go into that supersedes what you have as far as your technical background.
Great. I think that answers that, at least in my mind. Are there any professional certifications for audio, video, and image in that field?
Catalin, you want to take that?
I guess that this is for me. Yes. So the National Center for Media Forensics has a master program, and we teach our students how to do the audio enhancement, how to do the image enhancement, both audio and video authentication. Mark is teaching our students about computer forensics, and we also teach our students how to deal with mobile phones. What does it mean to seize digital evidence, to extract data? So yes, we have this program, and people interested on more details, please send me an email. So once again, it's about the University of Colorado, Denver, the National Center for Media Forensics, that has a master program. It's a 2 years master program in forensic sciences. And we also have workshops for law enforcement. They are usually 3 to 5 days. Practitioners are welcome too. But what you get after 3 or 5 days of this kind of workshops is just a certificate showing that you attended this workshop. So feel free to just contact me, or just Google for NCMF at the University of Colorado, Denver, and see what exactly are you looking for.
I think the IAI has a professional certification for audio and video, if I'm not mistaken. And I know there are some vendor-specific certifications, like I believe Abbott has one. Is that not true, Catalin?
Yes, they have for video and for video enhancement. They have nothing for audio yet. Yes, that's true. LIVA has also a certification program for video too. And I guess that in US, these are the only organizations that we know. Once again, so I would like to mention something else. We highly recommend all of you to look for respectable organizations. If you Google, you can find some organizations that sound good, but there are huge problems with them. They don't have, let's say, good enough credentials, and there have been some problems with them. So it is the best probably to look for a respectable university, or an organization like IAI, which is the International Association for Identification, or LIVA, which is an organization for law enforcement working in video analysis. Gentlemen, do you think that I covered enough? Good enough. This.
I think so.
Okay. Jeff, are you there?
I am sorry, I muted myself there. So how can a student with a GIS background, geographical information systems, get into forensics? And this software, it looks like city planning and developing demographics. It's not necessarily a technical background, it's technical, but not necessarily forensic.
And Mark, maybe I can come to this one to start. A lot of stuff we're looking at right now, especially with cell phone and cell phone tracking and GPS systems in vehicles, relates to basically geographic information. So GPS coordinates, geolocation, the fact that almost every one of our devices now in our vehicles has some type of geopositioning component to it, makes that an excellent crossover. So skills that somebody would have in that area would work well with what we're doing related to like geolocation and geopositioning.
I also would kind of throw something else in here. As we get more and more data, and as we get more diversity in terms of the data, we're starting to find that we need people that can focus on the technologies, but we also need people that can do data analysis. And if your interest is in the analysis part, then I think we're starting to see, particularly in the law enforcement, and at least in the federal law enforcement, and certainly in the intelligence community, folks that are doing almost entirely the analytical part of the forensics process. Whereas at the other end, we're having people that really have to get down into the ones and zeros and do the technical part of it so that they can constantly keep up with the technologies in order to get the data that we need. And those two skill sets, we used to all have to do all of that. And I think now it's become so complex and the data is so large that that's changing a little bit. So I would suggest to the person that asked the question, they might want to think in terms of what are they really more interested in, analysis, or are they interested in the technical side of it? So just something else to think about.
Great. Question came in, a follow-up on that one is, is there a pathway or a degree that you guys recommend following? Is there any job certifications that you think are relevant for them to at least look into pursuing?
I mean, I think we've talked about that kind of all the way through the presentation. If you're talking about somebody that's coming out of high school, the career path that I would suggest, if you're interested in this, is to go to a community college and get a 2-year hands-on AS degree in hardware and software and networking and security, and then go on and get a bachelor's degree with either concentration in digital forensics or with a solid IT background. And if you wanted to go on to a master's in digital forensics, do that. And along the way, you want to get a couple of the vendor certifications. And as soon as you're eligible, you want to apply for some professional accreditations.
Yep, exactly. And again, it depends upon the level of education you go to. It depends upon where you want to work at. But a minimum of a bachelor's degree is required to work in any of the labs, because now labs are becoming accredited. These are your traditional forensics labs are being credited now with digital forensics component. And under the international accreditation program for those labs, the minimum requirement for somebody working in there is a bachelor's degree. So as Mark indicated, the associate's degree is a good entry level, but if you're looking at eventually working in the labs and then going beyond that to run your own business or work in any of the the federal agencies where competition is higher, then you'd be looking at some type of a graduate degree.
Great.
I think we beat that one up, Jeff.
I think you have too. In terms of technical skills, is it better to know a few things well, or better to know a little bit about a lot?
The answer is yes to both. All three of us are laughing because the reality of it is that 15 or 20 years ago, you could actually know everything that you needed to know. I liken it to what medicine was maybe in the 1940s. Now there's no way that any one person can know everything. But the downside is all of this stuff is interconnected. You can't not know about all the stuff out there. And so you need to know a lot about whatever it is that you actually do, but you got to know something about all of the rest of it, because it's all going to impact you one way or another. Catalin, Mark, you want to?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's one of those situations where you need to know enough to know when you don't know enough to say that you're a specialist in that area. You're going to find a natural, probably, or kind of organic growth to what you do. Some people start off doing one thing and end up gravitating towards seeing more cell phones or seeing more tablets. So as a career goes on, you will start probably carving out a niche for yourself, more on the audio side or on the video side, but you still have to have a common knowledge base across the basics because they're all interconnected. And you also need to have that network of knowing who to reach out to when you surpass your knowledge. You go, you know what, I don't know enough about this. I know just enough to know I don't know enough, and I have to go to somebody that's a specialist now.
Fully agree, yes. And as we like to advise our students and show them some real cases, we don't have to be afraid to just speak free about the scientific limits. They are the scientific limits nowadays. We don't have to be ashamed. They just exist. And as scientists, we have to just push them through scientific research. And we don't have to be ashamed also to recognize in a courtroom that if you get a question like about DNA or chemistry, to just say that it is out of our expertise. Or the usual answer is it is out of my expertise. And we have to take into consideration that every half a year, so every 6 months, the amount of information that is available on the internet in different sciences goes double. So it's a huge quantity of information, and as Mark said, yes, it's impossible to know everything, but at least, yes, we have to know very well some best practice guidelines that we respect every day in our work, to know the latest papers and the most relevant and important papers, and attend conferences, so try to keep up to date.
The other thing is you have to understand how people use these technologies, because how they use these technologies evolves as well. And learning that, I guess because I'm getting older, is getting harder to understand and to fathom. Jeff?
Great, thanks very much. I've run out of questions for you guys. If there's anything else that you'd like to say to stall for a minute or two, just to give people a moment if they have anything else that they'd like to ask, that'd be great.
Well, one thing that I'd like to add is this is an area, technology and information security is one of the areas that's probably one of the fastest growing as far as jobs at all levels across the board. And if you look within that fast growing bubble, I wouldn't really call it a bubble. It's a trend that's not going to go away. We're not going to go back to sticks and stones. Technology's here to stay. We're not putting the genie back in the bottle. So as technology grows and society becomes more dependent upon technology, the need for what we do is growing. We have pretty good job security for the next few decades at least. So this is one of the hottest areas within the job market. At Purdue, we track not only the graduation rates but employment rates for graduates, and we have a 100% placement rate for our graduates from both our masters and the PhD, and that's common across all the universities. Purdue isn't unique. There is just not enough well-trained and properly trained people to do this job now and for the foreseeable future. So it's a very, very good area to get into for job security and for, like I said, for getting into an area that is relatively new, and the people who get into it now are going to be the people that have the opportunity to guide what this thing ends up looking like.
Great.
Absolutely.
I got one here that says, what are some listservs that you are a member of that you that you find particularly interesting or useful?
Mark, you want to take that one, because I don't do that much in listservs other than DFCB.
Yeah, there's a number. Yahoo has some of them on their listservs. There's ones related to the different pieces of software out there. I'm not hawking any technology or any vendor, but Guidance Software has a listserv, and you don't have to have bought the software. Access Data has a listserv. There's listservs for professional organizations like HTCIA. There's ones for, like I said, there's InfraGard. There are numerous ones. If you go to any of the common listserv, I guess, moderator sites like Yahoo Lists, there are a number that are listed. Usually, some of them are by invitation only, and they require that you have experience or you be part of a professional organization. Others are just right there. As long as you don't abuse your postings, they'll welcome you as a member. But just go out and do a normal search for listservs on whatever. Like I said, Yahoo comes to mind. It's been around for a long time, and a lot of the professional organizations and the ones that accept anybody are listed there. And just get a hold of the moderator and try to join.
And the only thing I would caution you is to be a little circumspect about open forums and what you talk about and the advice that you get. One of the reasons why I tend not to use listservs other than one or two of the professional organizations that I belong to is because I know that the people that are posting there know what they're talking about and are willing to stand behind it and can prove it. Out on the web, no telling what you're going to get for advice, and worst, who's telling you.
Yeah, and discretion is important. Be careful what you're posting as well, because part of this is success in this is trust. If you violate the trust of a client, you violate the trust of a colleague, your career is over, simply because it's just the nature of the area we're in.
Great. Do you think having a military background in computer science is going to help you get into the federal field? Or would it be better to focus on training for becoming an officer?
Well, I'm not sure I exactly understand the question. Clearly, law enforcement and the military have a great deal in common, and an awful lot of people in law enforcement have been in the military, but it's by no means a requirement. Likewise, whether you're officer enlisted in the military really is more about what skills that you learned and what academic background that you have. So either of them are good backgrounds to have to get into the digital forensics field or to get into law enforcement, but neither of them are required. I think it still goes back to what skills did you learn and what soft skills do you have, and how do you combine those two things. And if you did that by going to West Point, great. And if you did that by going to Harvey Mudd, that's great too.
Yep, and as well, not all jobs in this area are related to the intelligence community or law enforcement. Quite a number of students end up in private sector companies. The large accounting firms have very active service areas in this. National labs are quite often, like Sandia and Los Alamos, are looking for people to be scientists in some of these areas. Academia is, if you look right now on the different what we call search and screen boards out there for academia, there's at least at any point in time 6 universities looking for professors, assistant professors in cyber forensics to come in and either be tenure track or be adjunct or contingent faculty. So there's a lot more than just law enforcement and the federal government. They tend to be probably some of the larger subscribers to the individuals that graduate, but by no means that's the only field.
Great. So how do you balance casework, continuing education, doing research, and publishing in your field?
It's easy. There's 24 hours a day. You only need to sleep 2 or 3 of them. But it is a struggle. But they're all things you have to do. It's like everything else. You learn to balance things, and you learn to do things like imaging large drives when you have to grade a bunch of papers or something like that, or write or something where you know that you can do two things at one time. But I don't know anybody that's successful in this field that works a 40-hour week.
Yeah, what's a 40-hour week? I don't remember those. But like anything else, if you're going to do this, you have to be passionate. And part of being passionate is if this would be something you'd be doing even if you weren't getting employed to do it. It's just something that it's in your blood, it's in your system. So in your hobby time, you'd be doing this anyway. So now you're just combining your hobby with your work, and the problem is not is complaining you're spending too much time. It's trying to balance that work life, but it's just time management. We're all busy people. Almost every occupation these days, every area, you're required to wear multiple hats and juggle multiple things. So a lot of it just comes with good time management skills.
Great. Well, if you guys have anything else you'd like to say, otherwise, I'd love to just call this a night. It seems like we've answered all the questions that we have. Thank you so much for attending, everyone. Thank you guys very much for presenting. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I feel like there's a lot to be gained here. The webinars will be available off of the Academy site again. If you go to aafs.org, in the resources tab, there's a link to videos. So please, in about 72 hours, it should be up online, and you can check it out there. If you have any other questions or follow-up, please feel free to send me an email. My email is jlubbers@aafs.org. But thank you very much for a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.